All right, guys, we just went live. We're going to be going live on the radio here shortly.
Hello, hello.
Get the You Factor.
That's right.
16 seconds.
And counting.
5 seconds.
Welcome to Get the You Factor with Mike Triggers and Nicholas Fordham. What is it that holds you from achieving greatness? Does greatness just come to those that are struck by lightning or have just hit that lucky streak? What really does make people achieve everything they want out of life? These questions span across the globe as millions of people settle into their life thinking that they don't have what it takes to truly get what they want out of life. Simply put, most people just give up on their dreams and aspirations to move forward with the repetitious habits that have been cemented around their lifestyle. Is this because they don't have what it takes to achieve their goals? The answer is no. You do have what it takes to accomplish anything you truly desire, and it starts with finding your inner you. With Get the You Factor, we go step by step in educating you on the key principles to achieve anything you want out of life. By tapping into our resources and following along with our weekly broadcast, we will help you through a journey of self-awareness and self-improvement. We will take you deep into your mind to determine what your mental blocks are that are holding you back from your true potential. You do have what it takes, and we are here to help you prove it to yourself. So how's it going this week, Mike?
Oh, it's going good. I had a character building moment this weekend.
I heard.
Going to Vegas, my plane decided to leak some fuel out the back. It was like it was taking going to the bathroom. It just spewed all over the tarmac and everything. Fire trucks were there, all kinds, and it was one of those airports that's like a small mom and pop airport.
Yeah, where you're standing next to the plane,
literally
on the asphalt.
Yeah, literally.
Man, it's a good thing you don't smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, no kidding. You definitely fly. So, but yeah, I was there, and man, and they didn't have another flight, and they canceled my flight, and which is cool because I wasn't going to get on that plane anyways. But
sure.
I was hoping they'd fly another plane in, and they didn't. But then they rescheduled us to the following morning. It kind of messed up my whole plans and everything, and I had to basically cancel my whole time in Vegas and everything that I put in place and meetings, and it's a good thing I wasn't speaking out there, because I don't know if I would have got there. I would have to drive out there, but then the worst part is that they were going to give me my refund, but I had to call some 1-800 number, and I spent 3 hours on the phone
3 days later
waiting. No, that's that day.
Gotcha.
The 3 days later, they said they're going to refund me. I had to go back to the airport. They're going to refund me, but I spent 3 hours waiting. I got disconnected 3 times. I get their manager to get it on, and they say they're going to refund. They're going to send me a confirmation, and they didn't. And so 3 days later is when I called them, and I'm on the phone again another hour trying to get to customer service.
Wow.
So needless to say, it was a very character-building moment weekend. And
it seems like big corporations like that, they'd have some sort of protocol to where, if chaos happens, a tire pops or gas starts coming out the plane.
You think they'd have an extra plane.
They're going to let you know within 20 minutes.
Well,
why wait 4 hours to give someone an answer?
Yeah, that was the whole thing, is that they were trying to fix it.
Yeah.
I'm like, fix it? I'm not getting on that plane. It's leaking.
Well, and that kind of goes back to some of the shows that we've done, just like the story with your plane. Same thing with relationships or business practice. Don't make the person wait before you give them the answer. When you already know what the answer is, say it.
Yeah. Do something. And everybody's thinking they're going to fly in another plane. Oh, no, we can't do that. We don't have anybody that can fly in. And I'm like, okay. And then there was a flight that came in after, right, to the same destination, Vegas, and they wouldn't let us get on there.
Oh, geez.
So, the whole time I'm like furious, but I'm keeping calm, right? And I'm holding my posture as much as possible. But yeah, it was definitely a character experience, and I recommend that you don't fly Allegiant anytime soon, because I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but who cares? Don't,
Hey,
don't fly it.
I was out on the river sipping Mai Tais, and
That's where I should have been.
you know.
But yeah, so it was an interesting weekend. You know, it's interesting to watch. I love people watching, right?
Yeah.
And I was watching the different levels of frustration and people, and like even this one gal that was there, you know, she was just furious from the fact that they were late. That was the other thing.
Yeah, it wasn't just you. There's like, what, 50 people?
No, there was a whole there was like 100 people.
Wow.
And but you watched it was interesting you could definitely tell professional people from non-professional people.
The ones that break down.
Because the ones that were they were swearing and cussing before we even found out anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like, I can't believe this crap and blah blah blah.
Just clean it up. Let's
and it's
get
like
in the plane and
they're
go.
real loud and they're obnoxious and they're annoying. I think some of the people were more annoyed at them than the fact that the plane, which caused the escalation of frustration, right?
And you know, I've got to feel bad for the people that work for Allegiant, because the owners didn't put some sort of strategy in place for them to handle a situation like that. So it's got to be extremely stressful for them because they want to do something, but they can't.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a small airport. Like I said, it's a mom and pop airport, literally. You park right in front of it and walk in.
Wow.
Your paid parking's like right there. Right?
Well, you always are on these adventures, I tell you. You got to be like me and just hang out at the river on the weekends, you know.
What's up
Enjoy
with that?
The sunshine. Well, today's affirmation actually goes very well with what you experienced during that flight. And remember, we read this affirmation from the book, Mastering the Mindset, The Power of Affirmations by Mr. Mike Triggers. And every time we read the affirmation for each one of these shows, our goal for you is that you recite those affirmations 3 times a day for the entire week until our next show. Because what that's going to do is it's going to implant that affirmation into your subconscious, and without even thinking about it, you're going to work towards that feeling or that affirmation.
Absolutely.
So you're going to want to say it in a mirror, in the bathroom, in a parked car, not a moving vehicle, in your mirror. Throughout the day, if you're stopping, you pass by a mirror in the hallway. You want to say the affirmation. And the affirmation for this week is, you ready?
I'm ready.
I overcome stressful situations with a calm spirit. Again, I overcome stressful situations with a calm spirit. In all situations, I rely on my calmness and peace of mind to help me overcome. Later, in moments of tranquility, I look inwardly at the effects of stress. Observing them, I renew my determination to take a step back whenever they occur. When I feel my chest start to tighten, I recognize the experience as a manifestation of stress. In times like these, I rely on my calm spirit to ease my tension and allow me to breathe normally again. I tell myself that no circumstance is worth such a reaction. I am convinced that stress is destructive towards the mind, body, and soul. Feeling the effects of stress means I am off track. So instead, I let the experience remind me to slow down and breathe. I acknowledge that taxing and worrying circumstances are part of life. I recognize that the word stress exists because the experience is common. However, I accept that neutralizing stress is more rewarding than allowing it to consume me, like a cancer.
Yes.
My natural peace of mind, confidence, and motivation are much more fulfilling than the feeling of stress, and they take me where I want to go. I naturally evoke these states of being when I make the conscious decision to let stress fall by the wayside. Today, I refuse to allow stress to take over. Instead, I commit to allowing calmness and composure to reign supreme. When I am stress-free, I am peaceful and focused. My goals are within easy reach when tension is absent from my life.
And as usual, we always have the self-reflection questions for you to walk away and think about throughout the day and in this affirmation. And the self-reflection question number 1 is, in what ways do I overcome stressful situations? How do you overcome? What is it that you do? Again, in what ways do I overcome stressful situations? Number 2, do I accomplish more when I banish stress from my being? Again, do I accomplish more when I banish stress from my being? And then number 3, can stress fuel my desire to succeed, or is it counterproductive? Again, can stress fuel my desire to succeed, or is it counterproductive? And the quote for the day as you walk away today is, and think about how apply this in your life, is I challenge myself to be calm in order to release daily pressures. So that's the quote for the day, unknown author there, and that comes from my book, Mastering of the Mindset, The Power of Affirmations, which is about to hit the market. And actually my other book just came out, and I'm getting those with the book that I co-authored with Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank. That's now starting to hit the market, and I'm on my 3rd book, Managing Your Commitments for Success.
Speaking of which, I just networked with a friend of mine. I've known him for about 12 years, lost touch with him, found him again on LinkedIn. He's doing sort of a miniature version of Shark Tank in San Francisco. It's the 3rd Friday of every week.
Oh, how cool.
And they do it over at Temple SF, a nightclub that's out there. And I went to this last one, and man, it was really cool the way he dialed it in. And so my goal, I'm going to be meeting with him this week, is to broadcast it live for the next event.
Oh, I'd love to go to the event. I'd love to go there and see more. So today we've got an amazing show and an amazing guest that is in the show. And today's topic is, 10 success tips from winners, people that are successful. And we do have, I consider, a great winner in the studio with us today. This gentleman took a $10,000 loan from his mother and created an IT company that made over $1 million in annual revenue, as well as he's helped not only that company, he built it up and sold it, but he's done that 3 times total. He's a success coach. He's an entrepreneur rock star, right? But he's also a sales trainer, and he teaches people and takes people to peak performance in their sales. And we're really pleased and honored to have our guest speaker. And if you guys could do me a favor and welcome John Pyron to the radio here. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, no problem. Why don't you tell the audience just a little bit about you? I've kind of told them some, but I've gotten to know you in a couple of times and been following you. We've been friends on Facebook and watching what you do and what you've been doing, and I think it's good, and especially from an entrepreneur. The mindset, we talk about mindset, but share with the audience who is John and what are you about and why.
Fantastic. Great question. Well, thanks a lot for having me here. I really appreciate it. And, the one thing that I have in common with everybody that's listening, and you guys included, is the fact that we were all born at a very early age, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And so right away, we have some rapport there, and so we can start from there. And I was born in Dallas, Texas, and raised in a little small town called Grand Prairie, Texas.
I was raised in Wichita Falls, Texas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, so not far from me. I got relatives. My dad was one of 9. My mom was one of 3, so I got relatives all over that state. Louisiana.
Same with me.
And I probably got relatives that have married relatives. Who knows,
You never, to where they get a divorce, they're still considered brother and sister?
Exactly. So I would imagine there's some of that going on.
Hey, they're big in Texas.
Yeah, exactly. But no, right around 1980, I was about 10 years old. My parents divorced, and my dad moved to California.
Okay.
And my mom stayed there. My 2 younger sisters went with my dad, and me and my older sister stayed with my mom. And then every kid has this dream when their parents split up, is like they're going to get back together, right?
Sure,
so 2 years later, they decided to get back together, and I would expect that, he's got to come back, right? He left, right?
Sure.
And so what ended up happening is we ended up moving to California, and I was excited. I was like, we're going to California, right?
Yeah.
Now,
the Sun State.
Do you have kids?
I do.
Right? So do you have kids?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you kind of understand where I'm coming from here. Is that I have 2 kids myself. I have 2 22-year-old son and a 7-year-old son.
Awesome.
And so
Congratulations.
if I was to make a decision to go and move my kids to a different state, you would think that I would want to take them from a nice, safe town that I was at and move to another safe town where I was at, right?
Yeah,
Of course, safe.
exactly.
I mean, that makes sense, right?
Right.
And so what ended up happening is we moved from there to a little small town called Oakland, California.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! That's a culture shock.
Welcome to
And so-
California.
I came from Texas, moved to Santa Cruz, and that was a culture shock. But yours, oh my gosh! Go ahead.
And for those of you that are not familiar with the geography, Oakland, California is consistently rated as one of the top 10 most dangerous cities in America.
Wow.
And back when I moved there was this guy named Felix Mitchell that was running around, and he's noted as one of the most notorious gangsters on the West Coast. And what ended up happening is I ended up attending the junior high school right across the street from where his gang was affiliated.
Oh my
Okay?
goodness.
But there's a good thing. We're talking about mindset, right?
Sure.
So there's a really good thing, and that is I developed a champion mindset because I discovered that I was a very fast runner. Okay? I kid you not. My mom had not gotten the memo that it wasn't safe to walk to school anymore.
Oh my
you know?
goodness.
And so
So you learned the art of hit and run.
learn the art of running.
Get out of there.
Survival, right?
Yeah.
And so fast forward later on, Mom took off again, and then ultimately I ended up choosing to be homeless. I chose to move out, and I said, I'm done with this. I'm going to take care of myself. And I remember sitting there, coming out of my trailer in this backyard, and to give you an idea about mindset, my mindset at the time was, this is all there is. This is it.
At the time.
You know, my mom was a waitress. My dad was a tow truck driver. Never had any vision of success. My mindset was I was going to work in the trades for the rest of my life.
Sure.
And it was at that moment a guy named Gary Ballard came into my life. Talk about a thin thread, and pulled me out of that environment and put me up in his home in San Ramon and started speaking truths into me that made all the difference in the world.
Awesome.
So that's where I've come from. Do we got to go to a break?
Yeah, no, keep going.
You know, I've got a very, very similar story in growing up, and you know, to have a mentor in your life to make a change when it's needed the most is really, it's a huge thing. And so, you know, being that mentor for someone is something that, you know, we all strive to do, but that very similar story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And here, we're going to go break, and I want to come back and I want to hear the rest of the story, and then we're also going to get into the success tips from winners and just your point of view and what it took to be an entrepreneur and then what you're doing today. And so we're going to take a break here at Get the You Factor, and make sure you go to our website and register to get access to all our content. But here on One Talk Network, we're going to go to break, and as soon as we get back, we'll get into some more discussion. So thank you, and we'll see you in a bit.
See you guys soon.
So when we come back, then we'll start getting into some
Yeah,
detail.
I won't go into it like on the radio and stuff, but I graduated.
But you'll do it on the webcam.
Yeah. I graduated back, you know, when I graduated, my dad was a truck driver. My mother was a hippie. They separated when I was 3 months old. And, you know, I lived with my mother up in the mountains. So it was like 30 miles to the nearest town, population 449. Then from my grandfather getting murdered, she got some estate money, and so they got a Volkswagen van. And this was like a trip around the U.S. I had never seen a day of school in my life. So 7th grade is when she dropped me off at my dad's here. And it was right south Sacramento. I lived in Fruit Ridge.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Okay.
And from there, by the time I graduated, my dad said, you're going to get shot, you're going to go to the jail, or you got to get out of here. So I moved to my mom's, and then my mom said, public schools ruin you, get out of my house. So I didn't know anybody for 3,500 miles.
Wow.
And so that, you know, the mind
Similar
has
story.
to kick in.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's an adjustment, man. I mean, it's I wouldn't be where I am today had that not happened.
Yep.
It needed to happen.
Yeah.
Because it positioned you
Yeah.
to see the other side.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you go through challenges, I mean, that's where you find yourself.
Yep.
You know, that's where you find yourself.
Absolutely.
Not only that, but when you run across other people, especially if you're in a position where you're coaching or leading other people, when they go through those challenges,
Yeah, you know how to take them through it.
you don't fall apart.
Right.
You become a strength for them.
Yep. A standing, that pole to lean on.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I lived in Wichita up till my junior high. And then I moved to Scotts Valley and Santa Cruz.
Okay.
So, and then lived there. My mother and father had gotten a divorce, and then they got back together too.
Got it.
So, and then that's where we ended up.
Now, how'd you end up in California?
My dad was stationed out here, so when he...
In the Air Force?
Yeah, so military, yeah, Air
Okay.
Force. So we were living in Texas. They got a divorce. How much?
30.
Okay, my mom and dad said that, getting a divorce, so she was in Texas, and he came out to California, same situation.
Yeah.
And then when they got back together, we came out, and there we are.
Got it.
Same path.
15 seconds.
So.
Got it.
You guys don't forget to register at GettheYouFactor.com.
Get the you.
5 seconds.
Welcome back to Get the You Factor with Mike Triggers and Nicholas Fordham. You guys very excited about the shows now. We've been talking a lot about relationships in these past shows and your body and, healing your body. And now's where the fun really starts. We're getting into motivation and success. And, that's really a lot of the stuff that I love. And we've got an amazing guest here, John Pyron. He's built multiple multi-million-dollar businesses. He's now also a consultant that helps other business owners run their business more efficiently and effectively, and he helps them with the sales training and motivation. And so we're excited to kind of peer into John's mind today, and the topic for today is top 10 success tips from winners. So just before we went to break, we were talking a little bit about really what is it that gets you in that mindset, and everybody's got a story that has affected them as they were growing up, something that has put them in that box of, hey, I've got that furnace that's burning, that furnace of fire, and I'm going to continue to keep that burning and go after what I want. What is it that made you have the mental click to just say, you know what, I want to be an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. I remember it like it was yesterday. So it was December 15th, 2005. At 12:35 in the afternoon, to be exact. Not like I remember it, right?
And 32 seconds.
Yeah, exactly, 32 seconds, right? And so my third...
and it was a sunny day.
It was a sunny day on top of that. The birds were chirping, et cetera. Right? And so I'm sitting across the table from the desk from my previous employer. And he says to me he had shorted my check about $6,200.
Wow.
And I was the number one sales guy in the company. And that was my third job of becoming number one in sales at those companies. And every single one of them changed the game rules on me when they started making a lot of money.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I remember his name was Mitch. And he looked across the desk. He says, you know what, John, I totally get what you're saying. But you and I have a difference of opinion about how sales reps should be paid.
Huh.
And it was those words that it was a click. I mean, it was just like, I am done.
Mm-hmm.
And I called up my buddy Mike, who had been kind of a mentor for me since 2001. I said, how fast can you form me a corporation? I called my wife up, and she says, no, we can't. You got money in a 401k, but, we can't get quick access to that. So I said, call your mom, see if I can borrow 10 grand from her. Borrowed 10 grand from her, and with that and being absolutely ticked off, I started my IT company, Intelligent Business Network Solutions, on January 6, 2006. First year we did $385,000. The second year we did $652,000. Third year we did $1,037,000. And did it again the next year. 'Cause it's one thing to make $1 million bucks, it's another one to do it another year.
Sure.
And then what absolutely drove me, was the Sacramento Business Journal. We made the top 10, the fastest growing companies list as number 10, but I had not reached the goal yet. So next year we made it again, and then they did what I wanted them to do. They put me in the center page on an article in the Sacramento Business Journal. I printed it out. I went over to Arden Fair Mall. I framed 3 copies of it, paid about $65 a piece for them, had them FedEx to all 3 of my ex-employers, and I said, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it was that mindset, so we're talking about mindset, right?
Yeah.
And so I did it because I was absolutely ticked off.
Sure.
When
But that was the driving moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I coach other people is, hey, you know what? Find your reason before your reason finds you.
Which is funny because one of the first tips on the list of the top 10 is from David Frost, and he says, discover your passion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Here you were forced into a situation, but the passion was that I'm going to prove to these guys, right? That was your
Mm-hmm.
driving, like, no more. These people aren't going to cut me short. I'm going to go produce. I'm going to show them what they lost. And that was the driving passion.
Yeah.
For others, it could be the passion of helping people. It could be passion of, but particular product that they love. Like I know Art Williams from A.L. Williams,
Mm-hmm.
his passion was to take people out of bad insurance and put them into a good insurance that help people, right? So everybody has their passion that drives them.
Sure.
I don't know, you guys may disagree, but the more I start to meet entrepreneurs and learn from mentors that I meet,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like the most successful ones are the ones that have a laser focused purpose.
Sure.
Yep.
You know, if I just want to help people, it's so broad.
Mm-hmm.
It's so wide. And it seems like, even if it's something quirky that you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
that laser focused is what creates all the drive because you're
Mm-hmm.
relentless about it.
Yeah.
Sure. No, I would agree.
No, I agree. It's, once I hit that goal of doing that, I had to find a new reason.
Uh-huh.
And it's one of those tragic situations where I did not realize that.
Mm.
My passion for building that company to that point was now gone. I had already achieved it.
Right.
And
So
I still
what
had all
next?
this success. I
Right.
still had all this revenue. I had an amazing partner. And instead of shifting my mindset into the proper channel, I started focusing on, hey, I'm going to go play some golf. I'm going to,
Laid back.
splurge. I'm going to, start focusing on my needs, and I stopped focusing on my customers' needs.
Mm.
Wow. So
And one of the things that I learned the hard way is, if you don't take care of your customers, it's just like this allegiance thing, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Somebody else will.
Sure. Absolutely.
I didn't even know about that incident until I got here today, but now that I know,
Yeah.
right, how many other people are going to know?
Absolutely.
See, one bad customer experience
Mhm.
that doesn't get fixed
Mm-hmm.
can destroy a business,
Absolutely.
Because
they'll tell hundreds of people.
Yeah. And I learned the hard way when my business partner Justin left on September 20th, 2011.
Huh.
And he quit because I had turned into just this self-centered, selfish individual.
Mm.
And he left there and took about 70% of my business with me. I had to fire every single employee because none of them were dedicated to me. I wouldn't have been dedicated to me.
Sure.
It woke my butt up.
Sure.
Thank God I had hard times in the past because I ended up rebuilding that company better and stronger than it was before. But at the end of the day, I was done.
Yeah,
Burnt out.
it's who you become,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate because I at a young age when I was making quite a bit of money for my age, it put me in that same situation where I got cocky and attitude. But boy, did I get humbleized,
Yeah.
really quickly because I lost a lot of it because of a bad partnership and some things, and so. But you learn, right?
Yeah.
And I think, and that's some of the tips, like, as we talk about tips from winners, having faith,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then taking responsibility, Oprah Winfrey, taking responsibility, which you already took responsibility, that you knew that you had put yourself in a position, a person that wasn't the type of person you really, truly are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, talk a little bit about that and going through that analyzation of knowing that, gosh, who have I become?
Yeah. It got so, that's a really good question. It got so bad that this time last year,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I had gotten to the point where I'd been married for 17 years, and I was done. I was just done. And I was 2 weeks away in August, 2 weeks away from being completely divorced from my wife, where another man came into my life and spoke that truth into me and said, hey, you know what? You're the freaking problem, dude.
Yeah, no.
Not her.
Mm.
And I literally, that was another life-changing moment. I said, you know what? You're right. I'm getting ready to destroy and ruin one of the best relationships that's ever happened to me.
Huh.
And I said, you know what, John? You're the jerk.
Huh.
you're the jack, you're the butt, right?
Right.
You're the guy that needs to change. And I started taking responsibility for myself. I started plugging into my mentor Dave Vanny and other people. And we have a better relationship now than we've ever had.
So no
I mean,
kidding.
we've been married
So
for 18 years now.
That's awesome, because when I met you, we had sat down and we were talking about some horror stories, because I had gone through a divorce, and I knew you were going through it and some of the stuff. And so it didn't actually go through, and you guys are still together, and you caught yourself. And
thank God California's got a 6-month waiting period, right?
No kidding.
Had they not, I mean, we were 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
September 2nd, it would have been final.
I remember.
And I remember standing in front of, in fact, right after I met with you at the coffee shop that day, I went and spoke in front of a group of realtors in Rockland.
Yes.
And I'm closing out my talk, and I said, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, as you've been showing up in the last 30 days at your job, what level have you been playing at? And a lot of the people like me that are hard workers in there was like, hey, you got no flies on me, right? I play at a high level all the time. And I go, well, you know what? The what level exercise applies to your personal life as well.
Sure.
So let me ask you a question. What level have you been playing at in terms of the relationships that are the most important to you? And I was immediately convicted. And I actually opened up to that group. I don't know where it came from, but I opened up to that group and I said, you know what? I've been playing at about a 0.5. For the last 15 years of my marriage, and I'm the jack. I'm the butt.
It's funny. I always have this saying, is that when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
I love that saying.
It's
You're
like
right.
my favorite, right? Because those moments,
Yeah.
like it came to you and the realization and said, boom, whoa, I'm going to take responsibility. It's me. Oh, hey, congratulations, man! Because I remember when we first met. It's been a couple, almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Almost 2 years, I think. I don't know, a year and a half. I think it was a year and a half. So, but I remember, and you guys continued forward and are moving forward, and I'm glad to hear that. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the best thing ever. And you know what's interesting though is there's a thing about full surrender, that has to happen. And I thought I was done. Right?
Yeah.
Thought, man, I did good. I canceled the divorce, right?
Sure.
I'm back in the marriage, but I kind of wasn't all the way back in committed-wise.
Right. You had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Yep.
And an event happened the Thursday before Thanksgiving last year where I had a big contract. I made the biggest single mistake you can make as a business owner, and that is have all your eggs in one client.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that client put my contract on hold. The Thursday before Thanksgiving, my income dropped to $600 a month.
Oh, my goodness.
I was faced with getting a job or building another business. And having been an entrepreneur, having had that mindset of not having to work for somebody, my wife was going, "You got to get a job."
Yeah,
I'm like,
the panic.
You don't understand. I have a disease. I can't be an employee anymore. Long story short, man, it took me to that event had to happen because it literally allowed me to take my mind off myself and put it on other people, and that made me a more effective coach.
Sure.
And so,
and it helps others because it's now outward, a servant leader.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because now you went into that next position, which Thomas Jefferson was one of the tips. He says, think positive.
Yeah.
Right? So here you're faced 3 days before Thanksgiving, you lost your income, your wife's panicked, you need to get a job. What do? You can't, a lot of people can't handle that type of pressure. Right?
A lot of people couldn't.
They break down, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking during prior to the show about how you're the pole that you can lean on, that standing stone to help entrepreneurs, because you know what it takes to break through some type of situation like that, whatever negative situation, because you've been there and done that. You know how to do it. But thinking positive is probably the key part of that there's something there. I'm sure that when it affected you, but I know you as an entrepreneur, as I am, and Nicholas here, that your mindset was more like, okay, we're going to make this work.
It was one of those things where fear and panic set in first.
Sure.
Right? I mean, the week of Thanksgiving was very interesting.
Sure, yeah.
It was, I can remember turkey dinner, man. I was sitting there just completely numb. I didn't know what to eat. I didn't know if I should eat. Should I panic? What should I do?
What do you do?
And then when I finally settled in and I go, you know what? I've been homeless before. I've had a business failure. I rebuilt the company. I had a marriage failure and rebuilt that same marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? This is no different. You know, this is a challenge.
Sure.
Whenever you set a big goal, you're going to be faced with a challenge.
Right.
And it was like, it came to me clear as day. It's like, hey, find 20 people that you can pour your energy, heart, and soul into to help make them successful as a coach.
Sure.
Even if you have to coach them for free. So you can get good at coaching, and so you can be able to be paid for that.
Sure.
And that's exactly what I did. And so today I've got, I don't know, 28 clients from New York all the way to California and every place in between.
That's awesome.
I lead 122 sales trainers in 6 different countries.
That's great.
And my attitude now is, you know what? I'm freed up because it's not the money focus now. Now
Right.
it's like, hey, how successful can I actually help somebody be?
Which, was it Napoleon Hill, help enough people help themselves, success will come to you,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then there's the next step, which then Pablo Picasso, in his, he talks about as a winner, his tip is taking action,
Mm-hmm.
right? So here you are, Thanksgiving, what am I going to do? I'm going to pour my energy into people and help them. So you take instant action. You found the clients. Now, I'm sure it wasn't easy in the beginning. I'm sure that it took a little bit, right? I mean, there was that struggle. All 28 didn't show up at your doorstep, but you took action and walked through it. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what was going through your mind? Did you have challenges in your mind? Did they, what was going on in your mindset? And, we're going to go to break before you answer that, because I was just told that it's 4 minutes here. And so, but when we come back to break, let's talk about that. Like, what was going through your mind? Because you had to get those 28 clients. You got to get a job. This is a tip that winners talk about, is taking action. It's one thing to think about it, but do something. So we're going to take a commercial break. We'll come back here at One Talk Network and Get the You Factor with Nicholas Fordham and Mike Driggers and our guest speaker, John Pyron. And we're going to be talking more about the tips from winners and just what it took and the mindset. So we're going to go ahead and go to break, and we'll talk to you in a minute.
Fantastic.
Good job, man.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. I'm
It's so funny that it's going in flow. I was sitting here going, holy cow, everything we're talking about is like following in a flow.
I'll talk about it when we come back, too, but I was so quiet because I needed to hear what you just said.
Yeah. Okay.
And 30, 40 other people have tried to tell me the same thing, but the deliverance was different.
Sure.
And for some reason, you triggered an emotion in me thinking, wow, maybe it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's easier to change ourselves than it is to change somebody else, for sure.
Yeah.
A mentor of mine told me once, he says, when you point the finger at someone, look at the 3 that are pointing back at you. And I've always kept that in mind because that's what helped when I was humbleized. I mean, and when I started thinking from that point of view, things started changing. I could have pointed the finger at Agilent and all the situation, but at the end of the day, it was me that chose to go there.
Yeah.
Right. It was me that chose to book out of there. I could have chose not to.
Yeah.
And so, I live and learn, and I dealt with the situation that was put at hand, the challenge, as you said. So.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
Because it's. I mean, when you're going through incredible pressure like that, you don't even want to get up in the morning. You don't want
Oh, yeah.
It shuts you down.
it shuts you completely down.
What's
and
funny?
to add to it, relationship issues on top of it.
Yeah.
And like I had my company, MXS, before, I made a merge with another company thinking I wasn't the right business owner. But at one point, I had 9 employees on payroll. I had about 30 people in India.
Yeah.
And, I was taking home really nice amount of money.
Sure.
And all of a sudden I got hit by a hack attack. Yet all the way up until this point, I blamed it on the hack attack that my ex left me, and now I'm in this divorce custody battle and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I could have handled the situation differently.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hindsight is 100% crystal clear.
And
but when
my
you're going
current
through
relationship,
it, you don't know.
Yeah. And I see that pattern now. Now the way you said it, I see that pattern over my relationship issues.
20 seconds.
Yeah. It's life's a very thin thread. Very thin thread.
Actually, I think that's you should talk about it.
Okay.
10 seconds. 5,
Welcome back to Get the You Factor with Mike Driggers and Nicholas Fordham. You know, we've got a special guest here today, Mr. John Pyron, and we're talking about the top 10 success tips from winners. But, you know, I was very, very silent for the last part of the show because something that John said really triggered emotion in myself. And, you know, really I started thinking about my relationship issues over the past few relationships that I've had. And, you know, it made me think, maybe it's me. And, you know, I really liked the way that you delivered that because I've had 15, 20, 30 people try to tell me the same thing. But by you explaining your situation the way that you did, as it's, you know, your situation that you're going through and the deliverance, it really made me think. So you definitely are very, very good as a coach.
Wow, well, thank you.
Yeah, it was. That's pretty powerful. We were talking about it during the break, and you know, I love that you get, you know, that they hit you, right? Again, when the student's ready, the teacher appears, and you just never know. And I just love those moments. Those are like those aha moments, that light bulb effect, right? And in life, so good, man. I'm glad. Congratulations.
Take 2 steps all the way in.
Yep,
That's it.
absolutely.
That's it,
Exact. You know, when we went to just before we went to break, we were talking about, you know, you had this one client. You lost just before Thanksgiving this deal, and now your situation of income just dropped. You're like, what am I going to do? Your wife's panicking, telling you to get a job. You've been here before. You know what it takes, and so you figured out a plan after you got through the fear and all the symptoms that we all go through. It doesn't matter. I've been through it. I know that it happens, and it's no fun, but as an entrepreneur and a leader, we get into there and we take action. But one of the things is, you know, Dale Carnegie, on his tip, talks about embracing failures, right? Yep. Where here you are in a situation, you've been there, now you've got to go and you go get 28 clients. You've got 28 clients now. It didn't happen overnight. Talk about that. Like, what was going through your mind as you're now going out there? You're embracing the failures that you've had in the past. You've passed through them. You're taking action. What was going through your mind?
You know, immediately it was the entire focus shifted inward. Of, you know, I've got a 7-year-old son. I've got a wife. I've got a, you know, home. I've got a car payment. I've got all this responsibility, right?
Sure. And that burden.
And so the whole focus right away is just all about me. And one of the things I discovered is that doesn't manufacture money.
No.
You know,
Nope.
Fear and panic and worry doesn't manufacture any money.
Sure.
And one of the things that helped me dramatically was the fact that a mentor of mine that I had been working with, a guy named Eric Lofholm, he had given a talk before that I was like, oh, I remember where that recording's stored. I went and found it, and he talked about a time where he experienced a very similar situation. And he described to the T exactly what I was going through. I did not want to wake up in the morning. I'd wake up in the morning, and it was so depressing that I just wanted to grab the sheets, pull them back over my head, and just wish it would. Maybe this is a dream, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is a bad
this can't
dream.
be happening.
You know, I mean, you think my only skill is a business owner or a salesperson.
Sure.
And here we go, you know, right after Thanksgiving into the toughest season of the year to get a job as a salesperson, especially somebody with my background. And my resume was like, CEO,
Yeah.
sales manager. It's like, yeah, sure you want a job. You're just going to get through Christmas and then you're going to quit.
Sure.
And so I actually, I'll be honest, you know, I went for a job interview. And I knocked it out of the park, so I thought. And I walked out of there just a pit in my stomach. I'm like, I just cannot go back to work for somebody.
Yeah.
I don't care if we live in a studio apartment. It's just not going to happen.
Well, that's the thing. Once you're an entrepreneur, you can't go back. You never. It's hard.
No. And so the best thing that happened to me is I went back and I found that recording, and you know what he said on there? He says, you know what? You can only fear, panic, and worry doesn't manufacture money. You know what manufactures money is focus on revenue producing activities.
Yeah.
Taking it. So what can you focus on? Well, I can generate leads. I can set appointments. I can run appointments. And that is all I needed to focus on throughout the day. And that still was not enough.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
I grew up in a home where, you know, I was forced to go to church. Okay.
Yep.
I was one of those Christians that would just show up and go to church, right? But I was the ultimate hypocrite.
Sure.
Right.
You'd
I'd
show up, you're there.
do my duty, and leave. Right. And that was where I was at, and I don't think I had learned my lesson. And God finally says, you know what? It ain't gonna work unless you focus on and surrendering to me. It ain't gonna happen.
Absolutely.
And so what ended up happening is I had to get sick and tired of John Pyron. And I finally said, I remember calling my buddy Dave Vanny, and I go, listen, I'm done. He goes, what do you mean? You know, I was on suicide watch probably, right? He goes, well, what do you mean you're done? I go, I'm done running my life. I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, I'm ready to surrender my life to God, and I don't know how to do that. So can you help me? And he came into my heart, into my life, and it was that moment. I woke up the next Monday, and God was like very clear. It's like, find 20 people that you can pour your heart and soul into. I'll take care of the money.
That's cool. Which it's so funny because Ayn Rand is her or his name, I'm not sure, but recognize opportunity. That's one of the tips. And so here you are. You've recognized the opportunity is to pour your experience, your talents, your expertise into others to make them successful.
Yeah.
And so that's where the journey began.
That's where the journey began. I just focused on revenue-producing activities, generating leads, set appointments, running those appointments. I did a ton of free coaching in January, a ton of free coaching in February, started getting clients. Then it started doubling. Then the revenue doubled again.
Sure.
Then it doubled in April. Then it doubled in May. And then it just doubled in a half in June. And going into July, it's like I no longer have to worry about where the money's going to come from.
That's awesome.
Right? It's one of those situations where I was just talking to a client of mine, John Ryan, on the way over here. He's out of North Carolina. And I'm excited for him because his dream is coming to fruition of him building his coaching practice. And I just said, hey, you know what? I've spent the last half an hour, 45 minutes just absolutely focused on helping you do what you need to do to get your dream. And I haven't even thought once about myself. This time last year, it was all about me. It would have never been about somebody else.
Right.
And the biggest difference in my life is just, you know, surrendering my life is really what it came down to, you know?
Right, not trying to control it, let the higher beings, you know, God take
exactly.
it. And I know I've been there. I was in a situation where I had bad divorce I was going through. I had chaos. The market had crashed. I'd lost my business overnight, my income. I'd had foreclosures left and right going on. I was well invested over my head, and they were successful failures, let me tell you. And but it wasn't until I released, I threw my hands up and said, you know what, I give. I don't know what to do anymore. Guide me.
Yeah.
And when I let that happen, and when I had that hit my heart, it seemed like you know, they talk about the eye of the hurricane where everything's calm in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's what was going. That's what happened to me. This inner calm and peace had come over me, but yet this chaos was still rolling around outside of me. But when I let it go, that calmness was there, but everything worked out. And you know, I was in a bad situation, but I crawled out of it. Right, I crawled out from rock bottom, and it wasn't until I decided to let go of me and let somebody else guide me.
Yeah, I mean it creates a different mindset. I mean, I'm going on vacation tomorrow, right? I've been on a vacation in probably, I don't know, 8 years.
Congratulations.
Right?
Where are you going?
We're gonna just go with our friends, the Vannies, up to Pinecrest, rent a cabin, and I'm leaving my cell phone and my computer and everything at the house.
Awesome.
But that's the only way I'm gonna be able to unplug, right?
Yep.
But I'm looking at, you know, in the past, the day before vacation, I've been like, man, I can't wait till this day's over.
Yeah.
You know, and today it's like I coached 10 people today, and I'm going to end up doing some more work tonight. And it's like there's so much exciting stuff going on in my clients and around me that it's like, okay, I'm not taking my computer for a reason, because I will not stop working, because I'm in a point now where I actually love what I do.
That's awesome.
And there's something Ben Gay said, or actually J.P. Maroney said on our call last night. J.P. Maroney's out of Florida. He's huge deal back there. And he said, you know what? When you're competing against somebody that loves what they do, forget it.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so the question I have for even everybody on this that's listening to this show is, what you're doing, is that what you love to do?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not passionate about it. Does it not get you excited to wake up in the morning?
Sure.
You know, do you have to force yourself to go to bed because you don't want to stop doing it?
Right. Because you love what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your life, you take off years off of your life.
Absolutely.
You know?
I purchased a domain a while back, pursuanceofpassion.com, and so it's a book that I'm working on myself. But one of the things I put in there, it's kind of a quote that I wrote: success is merely a consistent and persistent pursuance of one's passion.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So true. Absolutely true.
You know, it's funny because I've heard you say it several times through the show today, and I'm a big proponent to it, and you've put yourself in a position where you're the coach and mentor. You know, Warren Buffett says, as a tip, find mentors you can emulate.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Mentorship's important, wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know anybody that has succeeded to any great heights without a coach or a mentor. I mean, one of the I do about 15 to 20 group presentations, either from the front of the room, conference call, or webinar, all over the United States. And one of my favorite stories I tell almost 95% of the time is about Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Jordan, not only was he an exceptionally talented athlete, but it was his mindset of always wanting to improve that made him great.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the true stories about Michael Jordan is every single summer, every single off season, he would hire a coach, he would hire a mentor, he'd work with a set of trainers, and he would pick one aspect of his game. And that's all he would work on the entire summer. So during one summer, it'd be the left hand. That's all he would do the entire summer, is work on that left hand.
Wow.
And then the next season, he would pick a whole different set of trainers and coaches, and he would work on maybe a strength training. And it was that discipline, it was that focus of always wanting to get better that made Michael Jordan great. And when I tell that story, people go, okay, that's great, that's Michael Jordan. Well, guess what? If Michael Jordan, at the top of his career, being number one, no other person to compete against.
Exactly.
If he has to hire a mentor or coach, then I have to too.
Sure.
And so I always ask people, we all know this, every single one of us, we all know there's one thing that if we just focused on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's probably the biggest thing that we fear the most.
Sure.
If we just focused on that one area, hired a coach, worked with a mentor, and literally focused one season of overcoming that, or being a master at that,
Sure.
how much more different would our lives be?
Yeah, and Darren Hardy wrote a book called The Compounding Effect.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about that. So he started in the summer, and you do his, like he talks about left hand. Matter of fact, Michael Jordan was not kicked off, but he was trying out for a basketball team at an early age, and they didn't take him, and now
he was cut from his high school basketball.
Right?
He got that laser focus to prove to everybody
Sure.
that he was the greatest basketball player,
Sure.
because it probably got into his head so much that he was cut from that team.
Yeah. But it's the compounding effects. It's doing the simple things over and over and over. And imagine how much your life would change if you focused, like you were saying, on that one thing for a certain period of time. You find the coaches, you get mentored, you learn as much as you can, you perfect that, and then you move on to the second. And it's the little things over time that compound and lead you to the success.
Yeah.
I think it's a critical part to the mindset and changing. But I love that. And mentorship, I've spent hundreds and thousands of dollars in mentorship. I believe in mentorship. It's changed my life, along with personal development. I mentor several people. I know you do. I know Nicholas is there. I don't think that you could accomplish the things without. I mean, even Bill Gates has a mentor, and that's Warren Buffett.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
Everybody is weak somewhere.
Yep.
And you just find those right coaches.
Yeah. When I run across somebody, and no matter where they're at in life, and I talk to them about mentorship or coaching, and they're literally unwilling to go there, it's like, okay, well, you haven't obviously been beaten up enough.
Mhm.
Because we all have a weakness in some way, shape, or form that can be improved.
This show right now is just blowing my mind.
I can't believe how it goes so perfectly with the workbook.
Yeah, we created this workbook, and we really hadn't talked about the show to you in the workbook, but
I didn't even know there was a workbook.
yeah, we have that's the thing. We have a workbook that we put up, and it's a ebook and then a workbook, and right, that the folks out there can get at the GettheYOUFactor and register to get to the show and download this workbook. But what's funny is the next tip comes from Michael Jordan. This whole show has been going through a flow of what we've listed as these tips, and Michael Jordan says confront and resolve obstacles. I mean, you hit him straight on, right? He's talking about, like what you're saying, laser focus. He had that in his mind the whole time, and he knew and kept that there, and so any obstacle he'd confront it and work on it. So that's where he got the coaches.
Yeah.
He knew that he was weak in an area. He, instead of fear, he hit it and went with it, right? I mean, you as a success coach, and you out there sharing with people, and by the way, tell people on how they can get to you and find out more about you and your trainings and things of that nature.
Okay, sure. Just go to my website. It's www.johnpyron.com, so it's John, P as in Paul, YRON as in Nancy, so johnpyron.com. On the front page there, just register. If you put in your information there, you'll get a free weekly success tip that I send out every week. If you've ever wanted to look at hiring a coach or mentoring, I offer a free coaching session.
Awesome.
Okay? So anybody that wants to get a free coaching session, if they go to that page, it gives you direct access to my calendar, and they can get on my calendar. So they don't have to go through a bunch of red tape or anything like that. I have a lot of coaches that I coach with, so even though I might not be able to take them on, I have a lot of people that I mentor as coaches. So I coach coaches how to coach.
That's awesome. That's cool.
That's pretty cool, actually.
And
so, getting, when we talk about Michael Jordan, right? One of the greatest games I ever watched the guy play. You talk about preparation, right? Whenever you set a big goal, in fact, the bigger goal you set, the moment you set the goal, you immediately set into opposition obstacles you're going to have to overcome to hit the goal. It's a universal law, because Jim Rohn used to say all the time, and I remember hearing him and I'm going, yeah, okay, whatever. But having gone through it now, it's very true. It's like, hey, build $1 million, become a millionaire, not for the sake of the money, but for the stuff you got to go through to become one.
Oh, yeah.
The obstacles that you have to overcome and the personal growth you have to go through to get there is where the real reward is at.
Exactly. And it's so funny because I tell people all the time, and I've said this on the show, success is not the end destination. Success is the journey to that end destination, who you become on the way to being successful, to be that millionaire. That's the true success, because you are going to change. I don't care who it is. You are going to go through a change. Your life's going to change.
If you're going to be successful, you got to be psychotic. I mean, who else? Who else knowing if you set a big goal, you're going to face obstacles. You're going to have to, fail. You're going to have to go through challenges to overcome those obstacles to hit this big goal. Who in their right mind would actually go and suffer that kind of punishment? Right? Except a psychotic person. Right? So if you're an entrepreneur, you're psychotic. Right? Just like me and everybody else. But the nice thing is you get to change and impact a lot of people's lives.
That's the key.
And you never know when you're going to need to be prepared. Michael Jordan, one of the best games I ever watched him play, and go look it up on YouTube, it's called MJ Flu game.
MJ Flu.
He played I think it was the 4th NBA championship they won. They were playing Game 5. They were tied with the Utah Jazz, and he was playing with a 102-degree temperature and the flu the entire time. Every single time they took a break,
he was drinking.
He had to be carried off the floor.
Wow.
And he ended up taking the game-winning shot and literally passing out after that and being carried off the floor. Because he was prepared and he had constantly battled obstacles.
That's crazy.
I love it. I want to thank you so much, John, for being a part of the show.
Thank
here
you.
at Get the You Factor. And, you know, what's so funny, too, about the 10th chapter in our worksheet that is going to be right underneath this exact same show is Enjoy the Journey.
By Zig Ziglar. Isn't that crazy?
I love
You
it.
followed it
This
to the
whole
T.
thing just
Just
followed it
flowed
to the
this-
T.
Yeah, that's what
Holy
I'm saying.
cow.
This
You
show.
gotta enjoy the journey, man.
Oh, man.
You gotta enjoy the journey.
And it's so amazing. It's so funny. This is unrehearsed, and yet
Yeah.
this whole flow of this show. So as we end the show, we typically ask, you know, what did you, first off, what did you, a question that maybe I should have asked?
Mhm.
Is there a question that I should have asked you?
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, the most important things in my life today are my relationship with my God, my wife,
Mm-hmm.
my son, the people that are around me. The question I ask business owners all the time is like, you know what? Let's just say the powers that be said you only have 1 year left to live, and we're gonna take away all your excuses, Mike. We're gonna give you unlimited money. We're gonna give you perfect health. We're gonna give all your family members perfect health.
So now what?
What would you do for
Yeah.
that year?
Yeah.
I have yet to ask that question to 70 people I've asked the question to and get more than 4 answers.
Hmm.
It's always family. It's always spending time, traveling, enjoying one another, making memories, because at the end of the day, you can't bring a U-Haul behind your hearse.
Absolutely. Well, you know, what did you get from the show today?
You know, for myself, it's you know, I even though I've gone through some failures in businesses and built myself back up, I always made excuses, and it was about something else that created that failure. That it was the guys in, you know, Turkey that hacked me. That's all their fault.
Sure.
Right? And I think today I learned to accept it's me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's part of it that was me. I didn't have the right defense in place. I didn't take the right steps necessary. I took my business issues and put it into my relationship.
Isn't that freeing?
It is.
It's freeing when you take personal responsibility. You go, hey,
Oh, that pressure comes off.
all the pressure comes off. You could take that weight off your shoulders now, and it becomes exciting.
Man, I got to
I'm
take
happy
you up
for
for
you.
one of those coaching sessions.
You bet.
Well, you know, we're getting ready to end the show, and I think the one thing that before you end it real quick is that I think we had divine blessing today, because this show just flowed like crazy.
Man.
How it connected. It was powerful.
Felt like 5 minutes.
I know. So why don't you
Went
go
by
ahead and
quick.
close us out?
You guys remember to awaken the inner you throughout the course of our educational radio video broadcast combined with our online educational material and workshops. You will discover what has been hiding inside of you all along. Our program is built specifically for you to help you get what you want out of life. You will be presented with key fundamentals that will guide you through anything in life to help you to respond in a different way, a new way, a way you factor to be the best possible way for you. So, Mike, let's tell them to get the you factor. See you guys next week.
Bye.
I had to shorten that one a little bit because I know we were
Out of time.
a little in the red line. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.